Hi, everybody. Not yet. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I know we're running a bit late. Didn't mean to be late, but hey, it all kicked off. So we're a bit late, but we're here. We're dressed. That helps. And oh man, I have missed you guys. And I don't say that lightly. Do you know when we have a bit of a gap, I can't really cope and have to have a little chat with myself. So thank you for finding the space to be here, getting together, meeting up with the gang. Love it. And welcome back. This is a little addition to the Right Stuff sessions. And I'm sorry to those people who didn't catch them while they were on, but we just keep adding. Our cumulative thinking is building, and that is gorgeous. Now, if you've not hopped in before and this is your first time, you are welcome, and we're not going to be too cliquey about it. We're going to welcome and love newbies. So say hi on the chat if it's your first time, and just so you know how this rolls, my name's Jane, plain Jane, no Y. Don't let me catch you sneak a Y in. And who have I got with me? Well, none other than Mr. C, aka Ian Patrick Considine, all Irish heritage. Here he is, coming at you. Can you flick your camera, Mr. C?
Everybody.
Now, Ian is a teacher. He fields questions. He keeps the chat in order. It does get a little bit risque, sometimes gets a little bit rude, and he's been taking the mick out of me this week, saying I'm getting a big head because I've got a special mention on ICT Mr. P's podcast. Yay. So all the love coming towards me, all my love giving back to other people. There you go. If you want to just send in love bombs, do it. We got love kicking off left, right and centre. If we're not giving out love bombs, we're definitely giving out heartburst. And if not doing that, we're raving. And if not that, we're probably technically alcoholics by now. Love seeing the favourites, the long standers, and do you know, it's not just the people tonight. We also recognise there's this sort of afterglow, the others, the catcher-uppers. But if you've made it and you've made space for us, thank you. So, I know you like a few hashtags. I've been experimenting with some new ones. Mr. C, you can flick this on if you want, just to remind me. Okay, so we've got some, because I know people like to play bingo. I don't know if we might need some new freshening up of the bingo cards. Hashtag my favourite funsters, crazy critters, lavish learners, hashtag my beautiful brain boxers, CPD seekers, and my dazzling do-gooders. We, as the upstanding members of the community who are heartburst, positive, against the odds, this is us, strong, looking after each other and moving forward and actually finding some space in all of this crazy ass shit. You like to say that, Ian? It's a bit early.
Yeah, no,
Done it.
It's the day of the Lord.
We are going to think about teaching and learning. So that is gorgeous. I've got a lot to say, you know that. I will stop intermittently and field questions. If I don't answer them, it's because I know I'm going to deal with it down the line. And I need your brain switched on for writing. We're in the camp of writing to now, not reading. So if you're going to ask a reading question, you will be ignored. Is that polite enough? I think so. Right, okay. We are particularly tonight looking at what I call a learning chunk. Now, a learning chunk, this is anything where learning happens, that can be a little gorgeous learning chunk. And the learning chunks we're talking about tonight is in relation to writing teaching. Now, what is really handy, which means you can have a big gulp of gin, vodka, or whatever your tipple is, we are not going to do anything new tonight. I love those nights. They can be a little bit cheekier and a little bit naughtier. So you know how these work. Our learning cumulatively builds. We go back, we go forward, we recap, we revise. So there's nothing new tonight, but tonight we are in the business of sharpening. And if you can do that while inebriated, think how sharp you are. Okay, so tonight, oh, can of Coke, Mr. C? Nice and quiet. Tonight we are zooming into the small stuff. We are so small, in fact, it's actually devil in the detail sort of territory. But it's about us getting our Anton, not Anton as in the, Strictly Come Dancing Anton, but like how we're going to get so micro, we're going to get so little, we're going to get so ant-like, because it's right there at that precision when we're being teachers of writing that we can begin to open up these flourishing conditions for children. So how I want you to think about tonight is, yes, we're going to get really small, really detailed, really sharp. We're going to have a little bit of ant power right there to have high trade-off, almost like the perfect conditions for modelled writing. And we are opening up the chat, Ian, for any ant-related puns. Okay, so anything that we can link back to.
Ant-related puns.
Ant-related puns, small, little, ant. Just go for it. You know, I love a pun, especially if it's cheesy. Right, so the little things that can have a big impact. That's where our thinking is tonight. Okay. Mr. C, have you got the Dubry-Firkin linked up?
What's that?
This Charter-Rooney?
What, the
this?
iPad? Yeah, of course that, yeah.
Good boy.
Do you want that on, do you?
Yes, please.
It. Yeah, it was on.
Yeah.
I thought you meant something else.
No. I know you've got your clothes on and you've got that on. That's all we need. He's fully dressed and he's smiling. And
I told you, it's the day of the Lord.
Okay. So here I am now talking very closely about a writing lesson, very specifically about a learning chunk. And just to tune you in, just kind of some big messages. Actually, let's rewind and just do some big messages. So, big message number one. When we are building writing, we want to build it around let's state the obvious, key events, key plot points. So, for example, if we're working with wolves in the wall, this plot point here, wolves in the walls, that's plot point 5 on a narrative map. The wolves come out of the walls. When we build a writing lesson, we're going to shape it around key aspects from the writing rainbow. So here we've got pathetic fallacy, and that is coming in at the booms, a technique. Then we've got precise verbs, that's coming in there from the fantastics, looking at action verbs, being very precise with them. And then finally, we want to drop in a relative clause into a sentence. So that is shaped up by 3 steps to success coming from the writing rainbow. That is almost like our sentence structural framework. But what I want to talk about tonight is that, I don't want us to get too sort of over prescriptive about it, but broadly a learning chunk. Now, if there's about 3 learning chunks in a lesson, and a lesson being about an hour, we're saying they're about 20 minutes or so. Give or take. Do you know what I mean? You might want less, you want more. It might be evolving according to what you're teaching. But this is where I want us to just concentrate. When I say really little, really zoomy in, just one learning chunk just here. Now, you've heard me talk about this before, that a learning chunk is made up of initiate, model, and enable. And what that means is modelling is the bridge. Initiate is almost what am I doing as a teacher to set up really good, flourishing writing conditions. I will never ask you to write, kids, unless I model it for you. And over in the red box, that's where I set you free, pupils, to go and have a go. And it is a little bit, you know, to me, to you, to me, to you. It is Chuckle Brothers, but a lot more serious. Yeah, okay. So it has that sort of, do you know what? On purpose, even Ian's not laughing at my jokes.
I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm getting.
Yeah, I'll remember that.
The puns are killing all humour. Killing it. It's just painful.
Yeah, let's not
You can't see them.
Oh, they're bad.
They're terrible.
Okay, maybe we need to make the chat a little bit sexier. I'm sick of ant puns already. Oh dear. Right, okay. So Ian, come on, tell us an ant pun.
I can't, they're just too
cringe. Too cringe.
Yeah. There's lots of anticipation. Somebody said something about the fantastics.
Yeah, they're bad. Right, okay, we've glossed over that horrific ant moments. Right, okay, so let us now think about really crucially why a learning chunk moves from, okay, the teacher initiate, the model, it's all the blue stuff here, and then pupil enable over here. I just want to lay down some guiding principles that I think you might know about, but I just want to hit them home. So in the teacher department, this is, and I can't impress on you this enough. I might, do you know, when I go from like enjoying myself to like anger, I don't mean to flip over to anger. It's called passion, but some things just make me really just get this. It's really important. And it is important. So this is bold and underlined. In fact, I'm making this little ant moment really big now. All right, how do I say this? Say it like this. Modelling can often fall on its face. You can model a very beautifully crafted sentence, but it can die in the classroom. It can be flat. It can not necessarily open up options for kids. And I'll tell you why in many cases that happens. When you are modelling, when you're on top of a model, when you are giving children a window to your thinking, sometimes you can almost put in the alternatives there. Oh, it could be happily, kids, or it could be excitedly. It could be green, but it could also be lush. So we're trying to model something and give alternatives, but it's all crowded in. And what I'm going to urge you do is just model cleanly the damn good sentence, vivid and sharp, that you want to model. And then what we have to do pre-modelling. This is all the effort goes into the warm-up. Yeah? All the pre-stuff. All the getting ready for writing stuff. That getting ready is the initiate. And in that initiate, that is where we work hard as a teacher. This prerequisite, the prior stuff, the flourishing conditions are essentially, I need tons of words in your vocabulary vault. I need loads of phrases. I need you, the moraling duty, I love putting ings on the end of everything. The moral duty with modelling is prior to the model. Children can see there are tons of options and ideas. And that is really crucial. So that, look, when we model, when it's sharp, vivid, and we're modelling through the lens of the writing rainbow, when we send them off to write, if we've done that hard work here and making sure there's a rich vault of options, when they come to write over here, it prevents that just copy and miss or sir. It prevents that or just replace one word. And they have actually a big wealth of wriggle room to apply the model and then go on further to deepen the moment, switch it up, adding different things.
We'll do some questions.
Yes, Mr. C. Let's have
Right.
some questions.
So this is from Kirsten Addison on Facebook.
Yes, Kirsten.
And Kirsten has asked, do you leave your modelled sentence up for kids to see when they are writing their own?
Yes, you do. You must leave your scaffold up as they write their own, but if you've done that hard work in that sort of initiate, they won't want to copy yours. They'll want to go off and go and have an experiment, and you must leave yours up. We are not counting that teaching as their independent work, but you can count their deepen the moment as little glimmers of independence. But we don't pull the scaffold away there. That is our crucial time to teach children how to do something. Yeah, that's a good question. Any others?
About it in a minute. There
Good.
are some, but the chat is going so fast.
Yeah, okay.
Do you want a couple of ant puns? They really are terrible.
Yes, hit me up with another ant pun.
Oh, right, hang on. I've lost them now, actually.
And they're gone.
How many ants are
It's a joke.
How many ants are needed to fill an apartment?
I don't know. How many ants are needed to fill an apartment?
10 ants, apparently.
Oh, right, okay. I'll leave it there. It's just... think this through, Jane. That was a bit of a disaster. Okay, so, right. Let me give you an example of where you'd have to go and have a little chat with yourself, at school, in a stock cupboard, if you found yourself doing something like this, where you'd say, look this way, children, have a look at this gorgeous photograph of the summer's day and the bees. And we are going to zoom in now to through the ideas of writing. And we're going to write a sentence about the sounds of the bees. Everybody look at Mrs. C's sentence about the sounds of the bees. And then I go on to model. The bees buzzed gently over the fields. Okay? And then I send them off to write. Now, modelling is not about you as the teacher being amazing. And this is a classic situation where you've got to have a little chat with yourself. Is this worth modelling? No. Because by the time we've taught that, kids will come back with something very similar, and then we'd be like, oh God, they just copied my model. And the point here is some things aren't worth modelling. If they haven't got a wealth of options, like you've got to just think, is it worth it? Other than Maisie, who might have written hummed, when mum's a teacher, well done, Maisie. The point being, we need things when we model it, that when we've done the hard work in initiate, there is lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of options. And kids know all those options. Otherwise, you just think it's probably not worth modelling. Is that just a provided sentence? So that is almost like that moral position that we need to be in. But something that is worth modelling for sounds, for example, and if you go onto the new dazzling, sparkly JaneConsidine.com, that actually, this is why do I look a bit like wowsy, on edge? I've had no sleep. I'm getting so excited about getting all those plans ready for you. But that is kind of growing at a rate of knots, and I'm proofing the arse out of everything really, really quickly. Still might have a few mistakes, but I'm doing my best. But we're getting there with that, and those are getting uploaded all the time on the new unit plan site. We'll talk about that more later. Cue Ian, he can give you a little chin wag about that down the line. But essentially, there's a plan on there for the Blue Umbrella linked to Year 3. Love that film by Pixar. Now, so you've got a plan there to download as part of that, but it's this sort of thing. The storm in New York. if the previous sentences that we were building up are all kind of really short and snappy, the rain broke, the sound of the storm built up, then storm sounds are worth it. So it's you then as a teacher saying, right, let's now listen to a soundscape of a storm in a city. Let's listen to it. And let's begin to gather. And this is where you could play really strong word collector, where you're the narrator. And so, early on in New York, even though it was 11 o'clock, the sky turned grey. And the sounds of the storm built up. And they can listen, and then they can move into chotting. You know I love chotting and jotting. And we can talk about all the sounds, the burbling into the drains, the dripping from the roofs, the clinking off the windows, the plinking off the puddles, the dinging furiously off the tin roof, and the hammering off the canopies. And we collect them, and we could say, right, let's have 3 of these. So the clinking off the windows, the plinking off the puddles, the dinging off the tin roof, the sounds erupted across the city. So it's that prep, it's the small stuff, but can I just hit home here? It's the small stuff that is focused on words. Do not waste your goddamn precious time writing on planners, Mrs. Gibb to sit with the green group and generate a bank of interesting sounds for the storm.
Don't write any plans.
Don't write any plans. Get your Sundays back. Become an alcoholic. It's so much better fun. I can vouch for it. And basically, just put the effort there. Put the effort there. Okay. So, back in the room, just to...
Can I ask some questions?
Go on then.
Because, this is meant to be interactive. See,
this is meant to be interactive.
She's got so much time just recording, she forgets that there's people there now. And she can't swear at you like she swears at me. Okay, so this is, I can't see who it is, it's on Facebook. So sometimes they come up as unknown.
Can you speak up a bit, Mr.
Yes,
C?
it says, I'm trying to...
Why don't you put your camera on?
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get my head around the independent piece. If I model the setting description, say on the desert, and then choose to write their story on a different setting, how do I help them to gather vocab for their own setting? Bearing in mind there could potentially be a different one for each child. How do I manage this? Thank you.
Nightmare. Right, you got some choices here. How old are your kids for a start? Are they year 6? Are they year 2? Are they in moderation years? Should you say that? I don't know, it sounds a bit illegal. The other thing I'd say about independent writing is we want children to come up with their own gorgeous ideas. However, we've got to be aware that, if you have worked hard on a unit set in the desert, then that might be something that you want to salvage. That actually you still want them to have a go at setting a story in a desert, but they're going to change the plot line. So I think it's probably a judgment according to how old they are, but equally, if it is just about a setting description, then you need to probably have a sense of, let's visit the rainforest, let's visit a city, let's visit, I'm trying to think of somewhere else that's radically different, the mountains, and that you can have experiences with your children prior to writing. We could meet 3 different areas that they could become experts on, and then they can choose. So don't feel that you can't stimulate their ideas. You're not going to tell them what to write, but they can meet films, they can live experiences, they can get ready for writing. Yeah. Mr.
Can I
C.
just add to that?
Yeah.
Once you arm them with the tools of writing, their creativity develops anyway because they're not being stunted.
Can you put your camera camera on, Mr. C, if you're going to do a big, long monologues.
Because I want to answer your question, so I was just quickly adding that.
Yeah.
Now, Lily M on YouTube has asked, I find that the initiate section of each learning chunk takes my class a long time. Any tips to make those parts of the lesson quicker, which I know you're going to cover in a bit. So
no, but maybe not as cleverly as that question is, which is initiate takes a long time. What can I do to kind of speed it up, rattle it through, but still ensure that it's productive? Okay, I think now is that I was trying to do an amazing ant pun, but I just can't. I know it's got to start with ant, and then I can't think of anything. Here, look, I'm going to spend some time looking at initiate, but break it down. Well, yes, Mr.
Before you start moving on about initiate, I've got a question from Jessie Grace, who's a trainee teacher.
Can you put your camera on, Mr. C?
Okay.
Because people can't hear you.
They can hear me. The camera is not really going to make any difference, and I can't see where it is.
Go on then.
So, as a trainee teacher, is it possible to use this type of structure lessons even if the placement school doesn't use the right stuff?
Yeah, of course it is. It's just teaching and learning. You can organise teaching and learning how you want. And if you're an NQT badass, you can go in and mix it all up. Yeah, do it. Right, look at this. Initiate. Just zoom in here. Okay, so look. It's not long. But I want you now to read, this is almost like the devil's in the detail, and this is where a lot of people lose their way or they don't have these principles in place. So look here, initiate is in two distinct parts. I'm not saying halves, but parts. And I'm just going to draw your attention to them. This part is where we as a teacher, so this is where we are doing that directed teaching and making it as productive as we can. So we are going to have something short, stimulating, engaging, but the purpose of that little moment, whether it is a photograph, a bit of drama, a bit of a film clip, a soundscape, whatever it is, an artifact, the purpose of that moment is to wring out of it a bank of relevant vocabulary that we are building our rich reservoir of language prior to modelling so it doesn't fall flat on its face. So in this like short and snappy, I always got like the funky thing. It's a funky thing, it's got to be funky, it can't go on for too funking long. If it is going to go on too funking long, you might have to funking forget it, but it's there, it's funky, but it's got to be word generating, right? So that funky moment of word generation, then we set them off in motion by giving them a couple of examples so they know what the hell to do. So we are now, let's say, I'll show you exactly what I mean in a minute. So do something funky. I'll give some examples of the sort of language I need, and then I set them off to chot. Okay, what is chot? Chot is more purposeful than just pair talk, okay, because we want them to chat and jot. And we want young kids to chot so they don't get too scared and afraid to make notes and get ideas down. So we have a pens up, confident, encouraging chat and jot. Okay? You try your best. You're a brave, having a go writer. Okay? Then what they are doing when I've sent them off is coming up, chatting and writing down words. Yeah? Then here, can you see I then pull them back and I want to hear their ideas, but how I gather them is not hands up. I put in motion kind calling out, which means I need this room drenched in the type of words we're trying to collect, and Mrs. C is going to write them down now as we collect them, but I also want them to write them down. So we have this rich reservoir of language before we even hit a model. Now, if they hear a word that's not on their bank, they can add it to their bank of words. Have a look here now at a book. And I've got lots of examples of books, and in the early years training that we've got earmarked for the summer holidays, don't think I've forgotten you, we've just had to do a bit of jiggery-pokery. That's coming in the summer, so don't panic. I'll give you other examples of what this would look like for younger children that can be applied up to year 1. But look here, yeah, this is a book in a year 5 and 6 mixed age classroom, and I have marked it, their actual book, because I'm trying to show you the layers between the teaching approach and what it would look like in the books. Okay, so let me just talk you through this, then I'll open it up for questions again. I don't want to lose you either. I don't want you to get confused. So straighten up, listen up to this bit. This is a kid's book, and when we're doing one lesson, one writing lesson, whether that's a narrative lesson or a non-fiction lesson, we work on a double page spread. Can you see this double? No, Mr. C.
No, this is a good point. Somebody's asked, should they use whiteboards or books?
I want you to use books. I want you to use books. Not that, listen, I love whiteboards with the best of them, but I want this approach of a writing journal where words aren't just spat off on your jumper sleeve, gobbed off and floating out the classroom, because everything is about language. The commodity we are dealing in is language, okay? And we are pickpocketing it wherever we can. You know, you want to keep it. You want to keep as much of this. You want to hoard it. You want to steal it. There's obviously some sort of Oliver Twist analogy coming on now, but I can't remember all the characters. But you're Fagin and you're training the kids to nick as much as they possibly can. You got it. Right, okay. So, learning chunk 1, learning chunk 2, learning chunk 3. It goes like this. Can you see this layering? Initiate. This is, I've worked hard, I've done something funky, and the kids are gathering words. That is all linked to, look, learning chunk 1. Then I model it, then they go off and write. Then I do something funky, short and funky, to kick off learning chunk 2. It doesn't have to be that funky, do you know what I mean? It might just be a picture. To generate a bank of words. We work hard here, then I model it, then they go off and write. Then here, learning chunk 2. Almost it's like me, funky thing, rinse words. They then chot. Then I go kind calling out and I collect them in. Kind calling out is basically shout out your ideas. Don't get too shouty, I'll kill you. Do you know what I mean? It's one of them. And we'll all gather it and we'll keep jotting, adding jotting. Model here, then go over and write. So we want it here because words, we're going to work more like our best authors do, gathering all the ideas. So it goes, initiate me, they then chot and jot, and then I do kind calling out, and then we add more to our list. Then I model it, then they have a go. I know what I'm talking about, but I might have lost you there. Mr. C,
Yeah.
Are there any questions about that?
Well, there's a lot of comments. I'm just, let me just flick down. I did have a really good question a while ago, but I've lost it. Oh, right. During the kind calling out,
Yes.
This is from Jess Denton.
Yes.
Is that another opportunity for children to jot down more words?
Yes.
As you know, you always get the ones that don't come up with anything. Or they might not want to say anything.
Yes.
Probably.
Basically, you see this book here. This is from a class in mixed stage 5 and 6. This book here, you also have that on your whiteboard, whether it's on your whiteboard or your interactive board, and you have thinking side and writing side as well. So when they're saying, if I said, oh, can you give me words that rhyme with howling, because we've got wolves in the wall, can you give me some words? And they go growling, prowling, yowling. Meowing, rubbish, rejected. I'm writing them down, and if they haven't got yowling, but that was Aaron's idea, they are writing down yowling. And we're drenching that room with words.
Is that sort of like a Black Country
yowling?
Sort of like squeal. Yowling.
Yowling is in the Oxford Dictionary. Yeah, let's not be derogatory to anybody from the Black Country. Right, thank you, Mr. C. Moving on from that, let's gloss that over. Right, so it's almost like, it's that matchy thing. Sometimes we lose our way within a classroom. How I am gathering is also how they are gathering. So let's just rewind almost the sequence of this, because I've kind of chunted there a little bit, and I've reflected that it needs a little bit of precision. So please listen now to this actual sequence of precision. It goes like this. Learning chunk 1, initiate. Please listen to this soundscape, children, of the wolves making noises. Mrs. C thinks it'd be really good if we collect those noises ending in ing words. Oh, I'm going to write down howling. I want you now to chart and be noisy and write down any ideas that you have about wolf sounds. They chat and jot. Then I go and stop right there. Kind calling out. And they literally shout things out. Kind means, let's be a little bit polite, thank you. And I write down, we've got howling, yowling, growling, prowling. We write all these words down. Brilliant. And they add more to their list. They don't just have to, there can be anything they want, and they might say, a little about wolf actions, or their tails, their mouths, dribbling, whipping. You go off and think about other wolf actions. Off they go, kind calling out. As I'm writing down things like swishing, creeping, and they haven't got creeping, they can write creeping on their list. Then I move to a model. So my model, there were howling noises and yowling noises. There were creeping noises and sneaking noises. There were thumping, bumping, and cracking noises. Cracking's a bit rubbish, but you get me drift. I'll model something here, and they go off and work under that wing, and then I go, come back to me. Everything is about word drenching, preparation for the model so it doesn't fall on its face, then the model, then they go off and have a go, but they've got this rich reservoir of options. Mr. C, any questions?
Yes. Will you stop moving? Just keep going out of focus.
I'm getting really animated tonight, I can't help it.
I think you've missed everybody. Yeah, I've got some really good questions actually, so let me just get them sorted out.
I'll try not to move so much.
Just stay still then, because I'm trying to put you into focus and you're going really blurry now. I'm going to lose you.
I don't just need Diet Coke, I think I need some vodka in that.
Right, so I've got a couple of questions you can start thinking about while I get this focus sorted out, because it's really, really playing up. So,
why don't you have me on autofocus?
No.
No.
Oh, there you are. Right, would you also encourage children to use their 10-page thesaurus at the chop phase, or is this just for independent writing? And that's from Helen Elizabeth on Facebook, who also says hello.
Oh, hello. Do what you want, really. I think whatever you feel. But if you think about, we're trying to answer that other question that came in earlier, if it goes on too long, then it's kind of a teacher judgment. Sometimes they can use whatever they want. We want them to be rich, excited writers with lots of options. Now, just look here. Go on then, quick fire. Do it.
Quick fire question.
Quick fire.
Right, would you need to break the learning chunks into further details if your pupils do not know these writing techniques? Pathetic fallacy, for instance. However, they might not know them when you first introduce them, but they are going to get to know them very well.
I'm a massive fan of get on with it, leave it with worked examples, don't do a big front-loaded, big exact. It almost like, so we do pathetic fallacy now, so it's almost like we'll do it now, in this moment, because you're going to understand it by having worked examples. So let's get on with it.
Next question. Let me do one more.
Okay, Mr. C.
Right. do you always want the children to apply the 3 learning chunks into a paragraph by the end of the lesson, or can they sometimes be standalone sentences?
It does have to build as a continuous piece. Otherwise, it's just...
I mean, the plans, if you're going and accessing your unit plans, they are built as paragraphs.
Yeah. Otherwise, what we're going back to, it's almost like decontextualised sentence teaching. You know what I mean? We could go back to the 1970s if you want, but we know that doesn't really work on the bigger chunks of meaning. Writing is about making meaning. If you're going to do, you might as well do a sentence that's going to live in this continuous bit. Yeah.
And just last question from Katie Boyce, who asks, she is right in thinking that each learning chunk is for 1 sentence, unless they deepen the moment with the...
It's up to you. Hold on a minute. No, too long. You can't do that to people. It's too long. That first part is a learning chunk about 1 sentence. Well, if I'm teaching year 6 and I want to model 3 sentences in a learning chunk, I'll model 3 sentences. So that again is a teacher judgment about what your class can cope with at a chunk point, but broadly a sentence, but it might be more. You make that judgment. If they're year 1, it might be a sentence. If, it depends what they can cope with. Yeah? Okay, let's have a look here now, because we're doing the devil's in the detail. Pathetic fallacy. This initiate. I am getting children to understand this idea that we're going to push Lucy's feeling frightened, and we're going to have that mirroring in the environment. Yeah? So, initiate. This is what I'm going to do in initiate. I'm going to show them Lucy's window. I'm going to talk to them about, actually, there's no weather yet on the other side of that window, but we are going to import some negative weather. So let's have a go at what we think would be frightening negative weather. Mrs. C thinks it could be, geography brain, fog or rain. It's definitely not sun. They're my 2 ideas, but I actually want you can write down fog, rain to get you going, and now you go off and chot. They go off and chot. Then I do kind calling out, and then I gather as they shout out their ideas. Mist, blizzard, storm, hailstones, thunder. I gather their ideas, and that gives them a chance to add to their list on the thinking side of learning chunk 1. Then I think, right, we could darken this weather even further by adding negative adjectives here to make it even more negative. So I would then model, I'm thinking, sinister fog, relentless rain. They're my 2 ideas. Write them down. They can write them down with me. And then I send them off to chart to darken their weather further. They darken their weather further. And then I go, right, okay, blizzard. Is anybody blinding? Now I might have 2 ideas. I'll write them both down. Storm. That's good. Ferocious, menacing. I'm writing these down, and they're writing down with me. There's this communal richness of jotting and collecting. Yeah? Then I go, I think now to prepare us for the model, it'd be really good if we have some violent verbs. I want a bank of violence now, as though this storm is in a fight. So I want words like punched and kicked and sliced. And don't get tricked. If they're regular, they'll end in ed, but if they're irregular, they will still be I want them in the past tense. I want some past tense violent verbs. I know you play fork, knife. I know you'll be good at these. Off they go now. In fact, I probably just want them to collect a whole bank of violence, and then we'll pair it up with weather types later. So they go off and chop now, writing down. And I'll go, right, kind calling out, what we got? And then I'll write it all down. Battered, thumped, kicked, hit. Yeah? Then I model. And look at our initiate thinking side bank. We have got negative adjectives, we've got geography, weather that we think is negative, and we've got a bank of violent verbs. So then I move into this. So let me just take that down a minute, just so you know what I'm getting at. So, I've not told, I've said today is really lovely because we haven't got any new messages. We're just being astonishing, and just zooming in and doing the small stuff. However, I don't think I've ever spoken about this before. Mr. C, you do say I repeat myself. I might have spoken about this before, but I'm going to say it again whatever. When you model, I think I actually know I was saying this, I think I've said this before, oh well. When you model, it is really crucial, particularly for narrative, that you show children, if you are doing near view, because everything's driven through this central character now, near view, mid view or wide view, because that is you showing the children what view your reader will get when they read it. And that is absolutely critical, because that really is that sort of dynamic shift of pan out or zoom in, and all of it, you've got all that power, at the tip of your pencil or pen. So let's start this off. It'd be this sort of thing. We're going to build now a pathetic fallacy sentence. We've got Lucy in Wolves of the Walls who's frightened, and we're going to build frightening weather. We're going to start with the determiner the, and then I'm going to drop in my weather. I'm going to go for fog. But I've left a gap because I want to drop in now a negative adjective for fog. I could do a quick simile. So I could do something like this, the veil-like fog, the shroud-like fog, I'm thinking of a food that isn't soup because that's quite nice, the gruel-like fog. So I could do a quick simile there that functions like a negative adjective. But actually I'm just going to stick with an adjective. So I'm going to have, my pen's gone up, my paper's gone all way. The sinister fog. Now, this is now where I'm going to drop my violent verb. Now, if I had lightning, a lot of writing is to do with association. So if I had lightning, the violence might be slashed, clawed, slit, sliced. But I've got fog. So I've got to think about associated violence with fog. And it would be much more like what, Mr. C?
Choking.
Good boy. Choked. So I'm going to put it in the past tense there. 10 points for Mr. C. The sinister fog choked, strangled, suffocated. The sinister fog choked. Now, this is where I show the children who I'm grafting for this model, whether the reader is going to see near view, mid view or wide view. Now, Lucy is looking at this outside of a window. That's where we started. And near view would be the fog attacking something in her garden, like the fence, the rockery, the shed, the gate. Mid view is down the street. Wide view is the clouds, the stars, the moon. But this is where I train kids, where I go mid view, so they know where the writing pitch is going to be. The sinister fog choked. I'm going to go down the street. I could have refuge bins, cars. I think I'm going to have street lights. The sinister fog choked the street lights. Now, I want to drop an adjective before street lights to show that they are being choked, that personification. Choke, the blinking is all right, but it's a bit like that's what they do when they're on the blinking, flickering. But associated like that, spluttering, like they're actually getting choked. So I'm going to drop that in there. The spluttering street lights. So now we've established frightening weather. I'm then going to establish a frightened Lucy, as Lucy cuddled her teddy bear tightly. It's actually a pig puppet. As Lucy cuddled her pig puppet tightly. What's wrong with cuddled? Yes, well done. It is too positive. So now we want to get that on the negative side of the street as Lucy gripped her pig puppet tightly. The problem with tightly now, that's, you know, that's two doing the same things. Let's get rid of tightly there. As Lucy clutched. I could put an emotions adverb there. How? Clutched her pig puppet anxiously. And now we've got pathetic fallacy, frightening weather, and frightened Lucy. But now, as I head them off to write, they've got weathers, they've got adjectives, they've got fighting words. Off you go, kids. See what you can do with that. Okay. Mr. C, are you ready for a bit of video? Can you cope with that, or do we need to do questions?
I can do some questions. I can do video. I can do whatever you. Listen, I can do anything.
Hey, babes. He can do anything.
I'll just ask, this is quite good, and I've asked one way, you might answer it differently. That's this from Jay Dockerell, who says, do you take input from kids during the modelling stage, or take their input from when they had done calling out? Sorry.
Yeah, so I really, what you kind of want, when you're modelling, you know exactly what you're trying to do. And it's almost, you're not actually, just blagging it live. None of that. You're not blagging it. You know exactly what you're trying to teach them. So kids won't be able to help themselves. They're pitching in, and actually sometimes their ideas are better than you. But the key to the model is almost like, watch this, children, but watch it not because Miss is amazing. I want you to watch it beyond the scaffold, to glinting on the horizon, your options about how you're going to manipulate it. And even more than that, what I love seeing kids do when you're modelling is them actually jotting. It's not like stop, watch me. I want them to watch like a writer. And as they watch, I want them to be jotting stuff down. Oh, I'm going to mix it up like that. You know, I don't need them to stop thinking. I want them to watch beyond my model with the bright, beautiful options of thinking like a writer in that moment. Okay. I am now going to flip to showing you a video in a mixed stage year 5-6 classroom. And I want you to notice what you're watching. You are watching one chunk, right? But I'm going to show you exactly where you're watching. You are watching this learning chunk. Learning chunk 3. Do it up a bit. Right, learning chunk 3. Now, learning chunk 3 is where I want children to, and this is the initiate stage, what you're going to watch. You're watching just after I've shown them a very dramatic picture from the Neil Gaiman book of the wolves coming through the walls. And we talk about the word coming. Is that the best, most dramatic verb we could have? The wolves coming through the walls. So we think we can do better. We need a more precise verb or verb chain. So let's think what it could be. You're going to see this video now where they are calling out. And what I want you to notice in this video, they are not watching me. I do not give a stuff. I don't want them to watch me. Some are, some aren't. I want them to be almost worrying about words, not to a point of anxiety, but to a point of, I am trying to get my reservoir built up. I am doing calling out and writing down all of their dramatic verbs for coming. Yeah? Exciting, if anything. And then, after that, I'm also collecting through the Fantastics negative adjectives to describe the wolves. So, really horrible adjectives. What are they? What could they be? And that is that work there. So you are going to see me do an initiate onto collecting for learning chunk 3, because what I'm trying to get them to do is build a good reservoir so that they can then construct a complex sentence that begins with that non-finite verb ing. We're going to start with that ing word and get into a complex construction. So we can start with a subordinating clause. Like, I can get as techie as you want. I mean, if grammar is your thing that does it for you, you know where to come. Right, Mr. C, you look very relaxed and chilled and looks like you've hardly got a video lined up.
I've got a video, I only have to press one button and it'll start.
Oh, baby.
So,
right, I'll stop talking then and we'll flick to a video, and please, this will work. And this is, and a big shout out, again, I hope you're here, my lovely Lynn Newbury. This is your gorgeous kids being just gorgeous, actually. Okay. Learning chunk 3. Here's kind calling out. We've got bursting. Destroy. I'm going to reject dancing because it just sounds too friendly and that it's too much like a ballet in slow-mo. So I'm going to reject dancing through the walls. What was that one? Blazing. That's better. Blasting. That blazing doesn't sound quite right. So I'm going to reject that. Blasting is great. Blasting through the walls. That's got really high energy. Yes, Harley. Blinking. Terrorising. Not enough movement in terrorising. I like it. I like smashing. That's perfect. Yes? Demolishing. Well done. That is excellent. Okay, here are the writing rules. Are you ready? Before we get going, I need now a bank of words, okay, to describe the walls. So, a couple of things that might help our ideas. So now we're going to gather ideas through 4 lenses. First of all, what the walls might look like. So I'm really thinking, these are particularly evil walls. You know, they're skinny, they're matted, they're raggedy. So what they look like, the sort of things I might write down: matted, skinny. I also might write some words down about how they smell. So they might smell rotten or pungent. I might. Okay, so from that kind calling out, them jotting on their thinking side, I almost see this almost like on the spine of the book. Like, I'm never asking you to write unless I am going to model right there on your book spine. This is what I modelled then. Here. Are you ready? Can you see this? I hope you can. Crashing through the walls, but they've got loads there. They've got galloping, thumping, you know, all of theirs there. The matted, hungry wolves, 2 negative adjectives, and this is what I call a finish the job. Don't care how you finish it as long as the wolves don't touch Lucy. Boom. Now, if you look at this kid's book, they've got crashing, galloping, rushing, shoving, punching, pounding, exploding, stampeding, leaping, stomping, smashing. What have they got as negative words? Matted, skinny, hungry, starving, enraged, sweaty, rancid. Boom. Thin, molten, ferocious, savage, sneaky, rotten. Can't read that word. And then I've modelled that, and then this is their application of that model. Oh, life. Bear with me. Here we go. Pounding through the walls. The ferocious, blood-sucking wolves entered Lucy's room and dribbled drool over her face. So you can see how they've taken that here. Look, pounding through the walls. The ferocious, blood-sucking wolves entered Lucy's room and dribbled drool over her face. And that is, you've taken that scaffold, you can apply it because you've got tons of ideas, and if you had time, you could also deepen the moment. Deepen the moment is you can write on. Rewind. I really do annoy myself. You can't write on. Bloody calm down. you can write more about that moment. More about that moment of the wolves in the room, and more means you can't write on, they still can't touch Lucy. You can write more, deeper about that moment. Are there any questions, Mr. C?
Yes.
Yeah, do it.
Okay, hold on. I'm just trying to find.
Yeah, he's really getting on my tits today, I tell you what. Oh, God.
Okay. So there's some general questions about the amount of sentences that are written in a chunk, which is what you're going on about this concept of deepening the moment. Perhaps you could go into that a bit more detail, because it's a little bit confusing if you've not met it before, and it's about the fact that, you know, have you mentioned the slow reveal? Have you mentioned that?
Well, I think the thing is, you know, the Right Stuff sessions, this sort of cumulative build has sort of come down. So some of those things that I have talked about before, but you've only probably just met me now, so you're thinking, oh, live. We are launching some Right Stuff training. It is I am sober benefits, and that is a place where you can have a deep look at deepen the moment and slow reveal and all of that sort of stuff, and that is coming. I don't want to get into that too much tonight, because but I am going to say something about deepen the moment for those people who've not heard about it before. Deepen the moment is the gift we have as a teacher to have a system that doesn't rely on differentiation, where we have to laminate stuff, cut up things into envelopes, sort almost like separate activities for kids. Deepen the moment is a generic way we can put differentiation in place, and it goes like this. Rich reservoir of words, model, you go off and have a go, and if you finish before I pull you back, you are allowed, kids, to deepen the moment. Deepen the moment is you kids choose of your own volition from the wealth of ideas on the writing rainbow, and you might then write in the margin, let's say, you know this is going to go on for a little bit longer. You can write in your margin, I'm going to deepen the moment. I, out-of-body experience, I am going to now write a further sentence that is really short. Mrs. C has taught us how to do really short sentences for impact. So as a kid, I'm letting you know, miss, I'm going to deepen by myself, and I'm going to write a really short sentence. Lucy stared. Full stop. Subject, verb. And as a teacher, I can go, wow, look at this work. Look at Nimrat's work, and then here she's deepened of her own volition without a model. Lucy stared. That is what deepen is. You can't plot push. You can only go down. That sentence will be on a moment. You can only deepen that moment. I'm not going to say anything more about it, Mr. C, because look at the time, I could ramble for ages. What I am going to do, though, is promise that next Sunday we are going to do a deep dive, my favourite word, into non-fiction. We've done it before, but we need to do it again. We've got a big calling about non-fiction, and so we're going to do a slow, beautiful dance through non-fiction, and we're going to get to know shapes and what they mean, and we're going to do it purposefully and slowly. We can't stop talking about non-fiction. That'll be next week at 7:30. And just so you know, behind the scenes, we are working like Billy-O to get the 87 gorgeous hand-holding walkthrough unit plans onto the janeconsidine.com website. I'm going to hand you now over to Mr. C, who's going to say more about that. Can you put your camera on, Mr. C? Because I've had enough now, and I need to go and find the vodka.
Okay. Yeah. Right, my camera isn't set up properly. Can't even see my transparent t-shirt. Anyway, so we've now got the janeconsidine.com website live, and it has got the unit plans on there. Some of the unit plans. There will be, we're filming them like mad. We've basically had them all reformatted and redesigned, so they're really easy to follow. If you go on and you subscribe on www.janeconsidine.com, you can go in and you can drop down to the, I think it's titled English Unit Plans. I should have sorted it out so you can see it. If you go in and subscribe, it's $24.99 for the whole year for a single user. Now at the moment we've got about 3 or 4 of each year group up, but by the end of it there will be enough unit plans for every week of the year. So essentially you should be able to do, you know, you'll never have to plan another English lesson if you're clever about it. The plans are really solid. Anybody who's used them will hopefully tell you so in the chat now. So yeah, do go along. There are some free ones though, so make sure you get some free ones first. Go and have a go on the free ones if you've got any bubbles to work with. See how you get on with them. And then what we are going to be doing as well, Jane, is we're currently filming the Right Stuff course, which is in a bite-sized mode. So that bite-sized mode is going to be something you can dip in and out of. Like Jane said, she's not drinking or anything, but she's loosened up. She's a bit more like Jane is in the lives. She was a little bit stiff at the beginning, but she's sort of like she's got into a flow now. So that's going to be coming soon. That's not part of the subscription. You know, we think that, you know, £25 is a really, really good price for those unit plans. We think it's well worth its money. You know, it's about 50p a week, and of course, it you know, it supports us as well, obviously, to be able to carry on and do the things that we're doing, like the writing training. That's going to be separate. We're just finalising the details on that. Have I got to add anything to that?
No. Can you stop talking now? Thank you, Mr.
Yes,
C.
but do send me emails if you've got any questions about it. My email is Ian, I-A-N, no second I in it, at thetrainingspace.co.uk. You can email me about anything to do with this. And as Heidi Andrews just said, it saves our Sundays. So it gives us SOS. It's well worth the £25. If you are a school, so if you're a head teacher from a school, sorry Jane,
It's all right,
if you're a head
babe.
teacher from a school, you can buy a whole school licence for, it's £150 per year, and it renews every year, you know, so you don't have to renew it. It's £150 per year, and then that is all of your staff, so that's all your teaching staff, all your support staff, your cleaners, everybody can access those plans, but they have to do it for your account because we haven't quite worked out how to give people a multiple
Boring.
at the minute.
Thank
All right,
you.
okay, I'm going to put you back on to see, Jane can't stand not being in the line. I've had to put it there, 26 years nearly.
Okay, so really exciting. Next week, and you know, we've started on this sort of mini beast vibe. I don't know if actually they belong. I know ants do, but I was just thinking, like, we went very small and zoom in
Can
tonight.
I tell you Kevin O'Brien's
Is this a book?
act?
Go on then.
It is a bit of a
Boys Club ant joke.
it's not a boys' club, but it is a boys' club.
Go on then.
So his was a deep in the moment. See?
That has actually made me laugh out loud. Okay, so essentially, we went very small and tiny and zoom in to Learning Chunk tonight. Next week, we're going to go, so you can get ready actually with your puns, we're going to go very snail-like through non-fiction because we need to be slow and very tiptoey because we need to be certain. So it's kind of a snail vibe next week. Hashtag Save Our Sundays. I love that. Don't think I've ever been called stiff before, Mr. C. But thank you. Is there anything you want to add?
I called you stiff, did I?
Yeah, you called me stiff.
Did I?
Thank you for that adjective.
It is subconscious.
Yeah, do you want to say something?
Yes, I do want to say something because somebody just mentioned it here, and I will write about it. But I have started talking to a couple of places about the weekend residential.
The rave, the weekend rave.
No, it's training. It's very professional training, but they're just so expensive. So I'm trying to find someone that isn't as expensive. and see how we can keep costs down. Because I think that a big factor is cost, obviously.
Okay, cool. We'll sort that out anyway. We'll keep you updated. We'll let you know. And
can I just answer this question as well that's just popped up because I forgot to mention it? When you subscribe to the unit plans, you have access to all of the unit plans. So you can go and get all of the unit plans. So if you're somebody who will teach, you'll cover PPF, you can basically get all the unit plans and use them. But please, if you're a school, just buy a school and don't sort of like say, I'm year 5. And
no.
But you can access all unit plans.
Right, we're going to go now because it's been so long. But next Sunday, we are doing non-fiction, 7:30. Be here, not there, or be nowhere. Thank you very much. Good night.
I'm just going to finish. There's no end music.
Why not?
I'll try and put some on.
Why is there no end music?
Because I messed up. Just wait 1 second.
Oh my
you
God. That's all I want. The rave song.
I'm going to put some music on. Just wait.
I thought you'd sorted it.
Yeah, well, just keep talking. Because then what
I've got nothing to say. You said whatever. Before we started, he goes, don't worry, I've sorted out the end music. And I'm like, great.
I'll sort it out the end music. So I'm going to put the end music. Listen, look, I'm doing
He
the
wants
music
some marriage.
now. Put the end music on now.